we are about to throw down for the top cut, the top 8 of our final Frostfall event, baby. It is about to go down. I've got the bracket here. These casters have been clashing out all day long. Some insane clashes here. The final event for Frostfall. And of course, the winner receiving the grand old prize of becoming a invitee to Season 3 of the Elestriad, which is pretty nuts. Our first clash we're going to be checking out is going to be MBT versus Julian, and this is a clash we do not want to miss. So let's just get this party started. We're going to dive in because I don't want to waste any time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be kicking this one off right away. We've got MBT here on the right-hand side of your screen taking on Julian W. This is going to be a clash that you guys do not want to miss. Listen, the way this is going to throw down, we've got MBT on the right side. He's actually rocking a deck that features kind of this crab beatdown that has risen to popularity in the metagame because of the strength of that 6 attack stat. Lavalith, Mustation, Moss Station, those cards allow you to essentially get tremendous amounts of advantage going up against cards like Astrabit, which can generate really good card advantage. Julian, on the other hand, is running a very cool water deck that actually focuses and highlights around Lockagon. So Julian's gonna get this one kicked off with this Astrabit, of course, being able to search out, grab one of the cards from the top of his deck, and give himself some tremendous advantage right away. Always nice to see there if you're Julian. You gotta be feeling good about the turn 1 rabbit. But again, MBT's strategy gives him the advantage against this deck, right? Maybe not the advantage, but it gives him an opportunity to deal with this deck very well because he's got 6 attackers which go over the rabbit. So when you're Julian's end, you really got to be mindful of that. But I love the diversity that we have in our top cut. We'll obviously have some posts and things of that regard to kind of showcase what that all looks like. MBT going to draw for his turn, getting his best, his top cut, his first performance here. He's going to kick it off with an Earthquake here to shatter the field right away and absolutely obliterate this Astrabit right out the gates. That's what you like to see if your MBT doesn't even have to use his 6s, but he's gonna drop down the crab himself. Moss Station hits the field. That Moss Station able to attack and deal 1 spirit of damage there. And it obviously has this really cool effect where it can respond to a cast to swap its stats if it wants to. So it can be used kind of like defensively in a way too, even when it's being attacked. So there isn't Fire Mine. I don't have the fancy tech to get the cards to display on the screen here. We're gonna see a mirror on the Mustation coming out. Double crab action. Both of these sitting here. MBT has a decision to make. Does he want to expend a spirit to swap his stats right now? That'll allow him to kind of defensively handle the Mustation on Julian's side. But he's got a tough decision to make on that. I'm gonna assume he's not gonna do it. He's gonna rely on his counter rune row to protect his Mustation. But let's see. We got the crab showdown here. Both of these crabs throwing down. Let's see here. We're going to see the expend on Julian's end. That's going to allow Julian to swap his Mustation to have 6 attack until the end phase, which means that MBT is going to have to respond. He is going to flip over a Shield of Achilles from MBT's end. Shield of Achilles flies into the screen and bounces Mustation back to his hand. That'll cost MBT 2 spirits to activate, but a good play on his end, because Julian ended up utilizing 2 spirits to get his Mustation to be able to attack there. And now MBT able to fire back on this one. Going to set a card in his rune row after he draws for his turn. And let's see if he's going to go for an expend to draw or opt to cast another Elestral. Does he have one? That's going to be the question. In Elestrals, you have a couple different options during your turn. You can expend to draw and forego your normal cast. He's going to do just that. And he's going to send a card, get an extra card from the top of his deck, and he's going to chip away 1 spirit on Julian's end there as well with a direct attack from the Mustation. We know Julian has a Mustation of his own to respond here. He can't use his Galaxies that he likes so much, but he can cast out the crab once again. And we've got a crab battle here. MBT opts to expend this time, perhaps indicating that he does not have a counter rune that can respond. But we're going to see Julian throw down the Earthquake himself. Another Earthquake pops onto the field. Brilliant play by Julian. I love it. He forced MBT to expend the spirit from a station to defensively protect himself, and then he drops the EQ afterwards, which is an incredible play, getting the better of the 2 spirit differential there, giving himself the advantage. And now MBT forced to take a spirit of damage from the Mustation attacking directly. We've got ourselves a 12-12 tie here going into the midpoint of this clash, as both casters haven't been able to establish any significant presence. It's been a situation of just kind of trading, picking here and there, and we'll have to see if MBT is going to respond. If you notice on the last turn, he did not have an Elestral to cast, was able to draw an additional card from the top of his deck, and now he's going to be looking for another Elestral this turn, opting to toss out a Taratless Earth Spirit. Let's see what MBT's cooking for this turn. Does he have an Elestral to play? He does. He's got another crab. My goodness. Mustation hits the field again. I don't think I've seen this many crabs. Not going to say it. We got a Mustation on the field. And it's going to put the pressure on. We got a crab rave going on right now. And let's see if he opts to go for the expend here. It seems like perhaps just a crash. Trying to go for the crash. Let's see if Julian's going to let that happen. This could be a big change of momentum here. It looks like these guys are debating their play. Will these two crabs collide in a matchup we've never anticipated seeing? Let's see here. Perhaps they're debating whether they're going to expend still, but I think these two crabs are just going to trade and they're both going to go down. So Julian is going to have an opportunity to gain field control here on his next turn with a draw. Let's see what he gets. He's going to be looking to establish some presence here with another Elestral cast. This could be an opportunity for him to look for his Galaxy. Something like a Foamy or a Dratagua would be big here. It's going to be the Foamy. That's a really good one if you're Julian. You really like to see your Foamy at this stage of the clash, especially after MBT already burned one of his Earthquakes. MBT is going to take a Spirit of chip damage here from this Foamy, but the most important thing on Julian's end is he's established that Foamy onto the field, which can search out any of his one-cost water Elestrals. However, it does not want to see a Viscerus. We'll have to see if Julian has any responses here. This is where a Tsunami could come into play in a big fashion. The Viscerus attacks forward. If it lands this, another Viscerus will swarm to the field. Julian has to decide if now is the time to use that Tsunami. We're assuming he has it. He might be looking to use a Gorgon's Gaze. He's going to let his Foamy go down, which means that MBT's able to get his Viscerus effect off into defense position. A second Viscerus hits the field, so MBT's feeling good about that, but Julian must have wanted to let his Foamy go down. That tells me he's going to either search out something like a Galaxy or a Dratagua to establish field presence. He does indeed do that. He gets Dratagua onto the field, and now he's able to heal an additional 2 spirits if there's no response, and there is not a response from MBT, and you see the gap of this clash starting to widen. This is what Water does best. Water has the opportunity to recover spirits at a pace that no other deck can keep up with, and when you're able to establish this kind of loop of healing with Dratagua, it can be very, very difficult for opposing players to come back from, because in Elestrals, to play your cards, they have a cost. So every time you're casting a rune, every time you're casting an Elestral, there's a cost associated with that. And when you can put pressure on with cards like Galaxy, it can look really, really tough for MBT here, as both the Dratagua and the Galaxy can put on offensive pressure, because Galaxy is going to swap the stats of all water enchanted Elestrals, making that Dratagua previously a 1 attacker with 4 defense. Now it's a 4 attacker. And it's very threatening. And we see an Earthquake here from Julian as well. He's going to take out the attack position, Viscerus, and shatter the field, taking out the Earth Elestral. Big plays there. And the one thing that stops this onslaught right now is a Tsunami, but that does not affect these Water Elestrals, which means that Julian is primed to take out this Viscerus and put on commanding pressure here. We see now why he opted to not have that Foamy. He allowed the Foamy to go down. MBT going to be forced to take 1 spirit of damage here from this Galaxy. And I'll tell you what, if you're MBT, you are looking for a Mustation right now. I don't know if he's running 3. We've already seen 2. If you can get the crab out, you're going to be in a good spot. He's going to actually go for the Shield of Achilles and bounce the Galaxy back. So recognizing, okay, if I can get this Galaxy off the field, I have an opportunity to essentially beat out over the Dratagua, which now only has 1 attack. This is going to be interesting here. I'm curious if MBT is going to look to misenchant. He's actually going to go for a Galaxy of his own. A brilliant strategy by MBT. For those who don't know, when 2 Galaxies hit the field at the same time, they swap and then swap back, and they cancel each other out, making them effectively not nearly as impactful as they otherwise could be. Julian's in a tough spot here. He does have a commanding spirit lead, but he is going to let his Dratagua go down. MBT's Galaxy proving to be very powerful here. In this, not a mirror, but there's some mirror-like elements of this, as both casters are running extensive Water Elestrals. Galaxy gonna flip things back around town. Bring it around town, said SpongeBob. We've got these 2 Galaxies throwing down. And again, they're swapping each other's stats back and forth. So that's gonna leave them as 2 attackers with 5 defense. The Ambrosia is big here from Julian. He's going to be able to heal up 3 spirits, bringing him to 10. And again, he's got double the spirits that MBT has in this part of the clash. And that's a big part due to that Dratagua and the healing pressure that it applies as it can continuously heal up. Comes out after that Foamy. And now does he opt to crash? He's going to go for it. And they're both going down. Both galaxies. These 2 whales collide. MBT does have an opportunity to take advantage of an empty field right now. He's got another galaxy. He's going to run another one right back out there. A dangerous position to be in, though. The Ambrosia might help him out a little bit, though, as he's able to heal up 2 spirits from that Ambrosia, which was a bluff face down. That's pretty good there. If you're MBT, you got to be feeling good about that, because that Ambrosia is going to give you an opportunity to kind of get back in this clash a little bit in terms of spirits. He will set 2 back row and then look to pressure forward with the Galaxy. Julian really hasn't used any counter runes in this clash. It's been very interesting to watch. I'm curious if he's got a lot of tsunamis face down or if that's kind of the play, but he's going to go for a late game Nectar of the Gods here, ladies and gentlemen. Drink up that cup. He's going to get 2 cards from the top of his deck, and that could give him the exact cards he needs to execute this strategy. Something like an Earthquake or any of that could put on a lot of pressure. We are going to see what he's got here. He's got a couple different options. He's going to go for another Galaxy play. My goodness, the Whale Mirror. Things I did not expect to see. Let's see what Julian's cooking. He's going to go for the crash. MBT looking at his counter runes. He's going to let him go down. My goodness. Now these 2 are deadlocked at a 6-6. He's looking at his counter runes. He's debating his play. Is he going to be forced to expend to draw at this point in the clash? That would be very detrimental to MBT trying to establish any momentum, but he may have simply run out of Elestrals in his hand right now, whereas Julian had the opportunity to use that Nectar of the Gods to fish out for the cards that he needed. MBT does have an Elestral. It's going to be a Misenchanted Moss Station to get around a potential tsunami. Moss Station comes out with the Water Spirit. It's not going to have its incredible effect of getting to 6 attack, but it's also not going to have to switch to defense position, and it can play around a potential tsunami here, which Julian is looking to establish. So let's see here. Moss Station fires forward. We see no response on Julian's end to go into his counter rune row, and he's going to take that Spirit. We're back at a 5-5 tie, but MBT does have the advantage with the field state. It's a Dratagua from Julian's end that will heal him the 1 Spirit plus. It costs 1 spirit to cast the Dratagua. He'll heal 2. That puts him at 6. And he's got the Dratagua sitting there, which can deal with this Moss Station. If you're MBT, you have a very interesting decision to make here. You can actually... Ooh, an Ambrosia. He will pull that Ambrosia up and heal 2 more spirits. Again, that sustainability that the water deck provides in this metagame is absolutely incredible. But what I was saying was MBT has a very interesting decision to make. He can choose to continue to pressure the field with another Elestral if he has one, or he can properly enchant his Moss Station to get a +2 attack buff, which could allow him to attack over this 4 defense Dratagua on the upcoming turn. In doing so, you do put yourself at some risk because you're going to potentially go to defense position after you declare that attack. So we'll have to see how that goes. But what will MBT cook up here as we head towards the later stages of this clash? Let's see here. This is a best of 3, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to be going to a game 2 regardless of the outcome here. And these casters will have the flexibility to dive into their side decks. And Elestrals, you have a 12-card side deck that you can utilize in between clashes. MBT opts to expend to draw an additional card, while Julian is going to seemingly just draw and start his next turn. I don't think there's any sort of offensive play that MBT can make if he doesn't have any way to get through this Dratagua. So let's see how that's going to play out here, as I think Julian is going to be making his next move. And it's going to be a re-enchant on the Dratagua, healing an additional spirit there. Again, 1 spirit to enchant, 2 spirits getting healed up. Really, really big plays from Julian. And you can already see Dratagua alone has healed 6 spirits for Julian, not to mention his double Ambrosias. So much sustainability on the water side, and MBT's deck just does not have that same sustainability unless he can find a Dratagua of his own. Let's see. He does! Wow! MBT with a Dratagua of his own. He found it from fishing off the top of his deck. Absolutely incredible, but the poison-tipped arrow on Julian's end is massive, as poison-tipped arrow will allow MBT to get this heal for this turn, but it's going to slow him down from getting it on multiple turns. So big plays there on Julian's end. He will be forced to expend an additional spirit in the end phase to clear that Dratagua, and it looks like he's going to do just that. So that Dratagua will go down on MBT's side, but he did get a little bit of healing, and he burned a crucial counter rune on Julian's side. So if you're Joseph, you got to be feeling pretty good about that. We'll have to see how this plays out. Both of these casters are looking to push for a move. I think if you're Julian, though, you got to be feeling pretty good. I do want to say I think he made a small mistake on that last turn. I think he should have pulled the Spirit off Trotagwa to play the PTA. I think he kind of thought about that, but nonetheless, he is going to go for another enchant on the Trotagwa. That'll heal an additional Spirit. And again, if you're Julian, you're going to want to try to use those extra 2 spirits on your Trotagwa to do something else, because resting on your laurels, he opens the door for resting on your laurels on MBT's end. And that is exactly what I'm talking about. He gave the window for Julian to have more spirits on his field to allow for that big laurels play. He's been holding on to that laurels for who knows how many turns, and the Trotagwa goes down. MBT has an opportunity to attack directly now, but does he have a second Elestral to play? That's going to be the big question here. Let's see. He reaches for his spirit deck. It's going to be an Earth Spirit. What is it going to be? It's going to be a Misenchanted Astrabbit. Doesn't have any more Thunder Spirits left. MBT pressuring with 2 Elestrals now, and Julian going to be forced to potentially take 2 spirits of damage. He is going to take it. The Rabbit, the Misenchanted Rabbit, coming out here, and we got a 6-3 clash. Let's see what Julian has to respond. He's got a relatively decent-sized hand. I think he's got at least a couple cards there. And he's going to go for the rabbit play of his own. But this one is properly enchanted. Astrabbit going to provide incredible card advantage here at this late part of the clash. And most importantly, if you're Julian, it gives you a 5 defensive wall to sit here and make MBT figure out, how do I get over this thing? How do I hit over this? The Mostation is obviously a really good answer to that, because you can properly enchant it with an Earth Spirit. But there's a pretty robust rune row on Julian's end, and one misplay at this point in the clash could cost you this first game in this best of 3. Sheesh. We'll have to see how this one plays out, but we got 5-3. 2 Elestrals on MBT's side. Julian with the rabbit holding down the fort, 5 defense. MBT draws for his turn, and he's going to be looking for answers here. How do I hit over this Astrabbit? He's got an Earth Spirit on his own rabbit. He's got a Water Spirit on his Mostation. Things are a little bit backwards there. What is MBT going to do? Let's find out. He's thinking about his play. He's got his hand spread across his counter runes. Does he have an answer here? Something like an Earthquake could be really, really big, even though he's down to so few spirits. He does have that opportunity. He's got an Ambrosia. Absolutely massive Ambrosia from MBT, as he's going to heal up an additional couple spirits there. 1 to play the Ambro. He's going to heal 2 up there, and that is big, as now we are back at a 5-5 clash. This one has been nuts. Huge Ambrosia there for MBT to stay in this one. Let's see. Does he opt to properly enchant his Mostation? He goes for it. The Earth Spirit hits the Mostation, which powers it up by 2 attack. It now makes it properly enchanted, which means it goes to defense position at the end phase of the turn it attacks. Let's find out how this is going to shake down. He's going to go for the attack into the rabbit. Is there a response on Julian's end? This Mostation could be massive if it can hit over this rabbit. Julian's looking into his counter rune row. He's going to let the rabbit go down, and Mostation goes to defense position. Astrabbit hits Julian directly, and Julian's down to just 4 spirits, facing down 3 spirits on MBT's side of the field. Let's see what he's got. It's going to be Galaxy. But does he realize that that Mostation actually has 6 attack now because of the Galaxy? This is crazy. The Astrabbit can go down, but he's swapping the Mostation back, so he's got 6 attack. Oh my goodness. Or 6 defense, rather. The Mostation has 6 defense, so he's actually primed to be in defense position. This is crazy. It's the Gaze! The Gorgon's Gaze is here, ladies and gentlemen. MBT with the Gorgon's Gaze. That's going to shut down the effect of the Galaxy. He's going to pull off his Mostation here. We're going to see a Tsunami to shift the rabbit to defense position to stop the attack. My goodness, what a crazy play. I'm having a hard time keeping up here, but I'm pretty sure that's going to shift the rabbit to defense position, ensuring that Galaxy does not crash into rabbit. But it's too late to make that play, because the attack would have already gone through. So the Gorgon's Gaze does resolve. The rabbit should go down, and the Galaxy crashes. Let me explain. There's 2 steps in a battle. There's the attack step and the battle step. MBT re-enchants his Moss Station and shifts him to attack position. The reason why that's so crucial is MBT declared the Gorgon's Gaze in the battle step. At that point, the battle is already locked in place, and those Elestrals cannot change positions. It looks like they're scooping, and MBT takes game one here against Julian in an absolutely incredible clash that ultimately leads to MBT going up 1-0 here in this best of 3. My goodness. Let me recap that, because I know that might be a little confusing for people. When an Elestral declares battle, it is the attack step of the battle, okay? At that point, there's an opportunity to stop the attack with Gorgon's Gaze, or you let the battle go through and you enter the battle step. MBT used his Gorgon's Gaze in the battle step, which means that the attack is going to happen no matter what. It's too late to stop the attack, but you can suppress the effect of Galaxy, turning it off, flipping his stats backwards, and ultimately resulting in the 2-attack Galaxy, crashing into the 2-attack Astrabbit. What Julian tried to do there was tsunami the rabbit to defense to basically make the attack nullified, but the battle step is too late to do that because the attack is already locked in. Elestrals cannot change position in the battle step, and thus MBT takes the clash. Absolutely insane. Big props to MBT for hanging in there. I think the biggest play of this clash was that moment where MBT got poison tipped arrow and Julian did not pull the spirit off of his Dratagua. I hate to call out a misplay like that, but ultimately that's what opened the door for the resting on your laurels, which cleared the Dratagua and gave MBT an opportunity to climb back in this clash. And we're gonna go into game 2 here as these two casters have the opportunity to utilize their side decks now as well. The side deck features 12 cards that can be interchanged into your main deck in between a best of 3 clash. You have to reset your deck, obviously, when you get back to the the next round or whatever, but you have an opportunity to get some advantage there. Julian does get to choose who goes first. He's gonna kick things off with that Speedy Rabbit, getting some big card advantage here that'll allow him to look at the top 3 cards of his deck and add 1 to his hand. That was such a crazy clash. I'm still buzzing from that last one, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely bonkers. Are you guys not excited? Let me see some hype in this Twitch chat, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very good stuff. Let's see what Julian is cooking up. That was nuts, man. The fact that MBT hung in there throughout that entire clash, despite the incredible resolve of Julian's water deck, being able to heal tremendously with Dratagua, with Ambrosias, and so on and so forth. MBT found his opening, got his laurels out there, and then put on the pressure with Moss Station with an incredibly crucial Gorgon's Gaze to ultimately seal the deal and force the Galaxy to crash, allowing him to put on enough pressure that there was nothing that Julian could do. MBT looking to make his first move here. He's going to start it off much like he did in the last clash with an Earthquake, shattering the field and taking down the Astrabbit, putting him to the underworld right away. Earthquake is so massive, and then MBT actually opting to go for the Viscerous play here, which is a little interesting. A lot of the times you try to save Viscerous from when it can get its effect off. In this case, opting to cast it out now, set 3 back row. That might have been his only Elestral, which could explain the play, but nonetheless, Viscerous puts on immediate pressure and forces Julian to go for a more offensive option here as his Kitty sneaks into the screen on the right-hand side there. Foamy is going to be Julian's answer, as Foamy can float out to whatever 1-cost water Elestral that Julian wants, which can open the door for something like a Mustation, which can weather the storm with 6 defense against a Viscerous. He can go into the Dratagua, which again provides that incredible healing, or he can go into a Galaxy to start swapping some stats. So it really depends on what cards he has in his hand and what he wants to combo. That Kitty is getting really aggressive right now, perhaps a little devastated the fact that Sparkin is officially banned in the format, but it's getting some good belly scratches and it's feeling pretty good. MBT reaching for his deck here to draw his additional card, as it is now his turn and he looks to make some offensive pressure, wishing he saved his Earthquake probably from that last turn, as it would be really nice against the Foamy. I think he went for an expend to draw there, to draw an additional card, and now the Viscerous will engage in battle and take out the Foamy, but that's exactly what Julian wants to have happen. We saw this happen in the last clash. Viscerous able to get its effect off, get a second Viscerous to the field, but Julian is not too stressed about that. He gets to get whatever water Elestral he wants, and knowing that he's got some pretty interesting combo potential we didn't see in that first game, we'll have to see if he tries to activate that on this one. MBT does indeed get his Viscerous out though, and he's going to be sitting at 15 spirits as the Galaxy hits the field in defense position for Julian, which is very, very cool, because that tells you that there's a chance that Julian is sitting on a Mustation in his hand which comes out to the field as a 6 attacker. Now, we've seen Galaxy very, very impacted by Gorgon's Gaze, and I'll tell you what, when the Daybreak meta kicks off, it's going to be very impacted by Dense Fog as well. So this Water Nexus deck that has been so dominant and won our last event, it's been really, really dominant today. It has a chance that it's going to fall off a little bit, although there's some new tools that Water gets, like Eddy and Chronodile. That'll be super interesting to see how it takes place. Julian opting to change the position of his Galaxy, and he goes into the Veritaqua, perhaps opting this Veritaqua strategy here to counter. This is most certainly a side deck card. Veritaqua, very good, because against defensive decks, it can just mow them over, as it automatically destroys Elestrals that are in defense position. Julian has the opportunity here to use his Veritaqua to immediately remove that Viscerus, which he does, and now the Galaxy can pressure and opt to either crash into the Viscerus or just stay steady, and I think he's going to choose to stay steady here, as you probably don't want to crash the Viscerus because you're just going to give Viscerus its effect again. So the other play you could make is like a Tsunami play, but what Veritaqua does is it's going to be really, really strong here against any Tsunamis. The Gorgon's Gaze does activate, so he did go for the crash. Huge! Gorgon's Gaze again, proving to be MBT's ace card right there, giving him an opportunity to shut down the Galaxy and ultimately get a second Viscerus to the screen. Absolutely nuts, as that Viscerus is so impactful, especially when you start to get multiple on the field. He's got the Gorgon's Gaze making big things happen there, and now MBT, 2 Viscerus on the field, exactly where he wants to be in this top 8 clash. Let's see what he's cooking up here. He can just go all out offensive, although I will say the fear of a Tsunami is still pretty real right now. I think if you're MBT, you have a couple options. You can misenchant or essentially re-enchant one of your Viscerus with a Water Spirit to play around a Tsunami, force maybe a Shield or a Gorgons. You have the opportunity to expend to draw, or you can get your Crab out if you want to do that. So we're going to see Mustation hit the field and provide additional pressure, and MBT says, I'm not messing around. If you have a Tsunami, I'm playing around it. I'm going to expend a Spirit, a Water Spirit right now, and make my Mustation have 6 attack. You're going to have to deal with all this, and he's going to deal with it, that's for sure, as 2 hits go directly into Julian's Spirit deck and bring him down to just 12 Spirits to MBT's 10. Now listen, Julian still can play back in this one. He's up against the wall, but he's got the Resting on Your Laurels, exactly the card you want to see if you're Julian, as Laurels can clear one of these Elestrals off the field. He's going to obviously opt to take down the Viscerus. Very wise choice there. A double Laurels would be insane. Does he have another one? No, but he's got a Lavalith. Lavalith hits the field for Julian. Perhaps a side deck card. Didn't expect to see that. Lavalith looks to have your opponent up by 2 spirits on the field, much like Laurels does, but you get to take down a face-down counter rune in the process on your cast. What does he go for? He pops a Laurels of MBT's side. That could prove to be really big. We'll have to see if MBT has any counter runes to protect against this Lavalith. Generally not a card you want to Shield of Achilles back. Lavalith has the ability to immediately pressure both Viscerus and Mustation. It's going to be the Mustation that goes down, and MBT going to be forced to take 1 Spirit of damage as a result of that big attack there. So he's going to be down as a 9-9 tie, looking to figure out, how do I get over this Lavalith? He's going to go for the Mustation. Mustation can do it, but it's going to be an expensive play. Let me explain. Mustation come out to the field as a 1-6. It can expend a Spirit, which he's going to do. That'll make it a 6-1. But if you crash into the Lavalith, you're going to take an additional Spirit of damage. I think MBT takes that trade. He's going to take another Spirit of damage there, and he's going to ultimately take out the Lavalith. Viscerus attacks, and he'll connect as well. Seems like no counter play for Julian. I will say, I don't think Julian's out of this. This Viscerus has kind of ran its course. It doesn't have any more Viscerus to cast out. The Lavalith is gone. He only has 1 Spirit on the field. So there's no Laurels place here. We are going to see the Bunny come back, though, as Strabbit makes his appearance here in this late part of the clash. A big card for Julian. That's something you really like to see here, because let me tell you, that card advances that you gain at this point in the clash is so massive. And again, that 5 defense can hold down against this Viscerus in a way that a lot of Elestrals simply can't. So if you're MBT, you got to be thinking, how do I get over this Rabbit? Do I have an Earthquake? Do I have a way to clear this thing? Because he's already used an Earthquake. He's already used his Mustation strategy multiple times. He's probably pretty low on Water Spirits, if we're being honest here. This is not an easy place to be if you're MBT, and if you're Julian, you got to be feeling good, because you just got to get one of the 3 cards that you looked at from the top of your deck, which is going to give you some pretty big card advantage. MBT draws for his turn. He's got a beefy hand. A lot of options here. Let's see what he's going to look to do. Going to go for that Nectar of the Gods, baby. Nectar of the Gods. He's going to drink it up and find an additional 2 cards, but down to just 4 spirits. I'm curious if we're going to see an Ambrosia play here from MBT. He's going to set a rune face down. Let's see, down to just 4 spirits left. It's going to be the Dratagua. Dratagua on MBT's side. No. Rather, he's going to go for the Ambrosia to heal 3 spirits here. Ambrosia's big. That's going to get him the crucial spirits he needs to be able to get this play started. He's going to grab, it seems like an earth, a water, and something else. He might have needed that water to play his Dratagua, and that's exactly what's going to happen. The Dratagua hits the field. It costs 1 to cast. He's going to heal 2 additional water spirits. And all of a sudden, the game plan of Julian's was so strong, getting that rabbit out. But now MBT responding with his own Dratagua and Viscerus, which has put on so much pressure. Let's see if MBT has any further plays or if he's going to pass his turn. The Viscerus unable to do a whole lot here. He might choose to attack, even though it doesn't do anything. And let's see, Julian going to be able to draw for turn, I think, here pretty soon. He does choose to attack, but there's no resolution because they tie. Let's see what Julian's got. He's going to be picking up a card from the top of his deck, looking to make a big play here. I think if you're Julian, you're probably okay in the situation you're at, but you'd like to get a Dratagua of your own out because that is going to be tough to match up against on MBT's side. If he can just re-enchant this Dratagua every turn, it's going to be very difficult for Julian to make a splash here. Understanding that I mentioned the Mustation, which is what we're going to see here on Julian's end, MBT has that Moss Station, so he does have ways to get over the rabbit. Mustation comes out. I'm curious if we're going to see that expend. He's going to probably do it because he's going to want to pressure that Viscerus, but a poison-tipped arrow flies onto the field on MBT's end. That's going to drop the attack of the Mustation down, which is probably irrelevant. We'll probably still see it swap its stats here. Let's see. Does he go for the stat swap to go for the offensive? I didn't see him do the expend yet. So let's see. He's reaching for a spirit deck. This is his opportunity. He is going to expend a spirit to swap Mustation to have 6 attack here. Let's see if he's going to be able to connect. He's going to go to battle. Does he go against the Dratagua? He does, and the Dratagua is cleared. MBT most likely in the end phase is going to use the secondary effect of Poison Tipped Arrow to ultimately clear the Mustation from the field. So Julian actually with a really good turn there. He got rid of the Dratagua. That's got to feel pretty good considering that if that thing stuck around for too long, that was going to be really hard to beat. Viscerus still standing here. If you're MBT, you're looking for a Moss Station. You want that Earth Crab right now. That is probably the best thing you can find, or just a simple EQ would probably do it. He's going to draw for his turn here as he opts to expend that spirit from PTA. Let's see. It's going to be another Ambrosia for MBT. Big plays there. Ambrosia proven to be so crucial to heal up these spirits at this point in the game. And not only are you healing 3 spirits essentially, but you're able to choose the ones you're going to grab. And in decks like MBT's, which run a lot of different elements, it's important to be able to get the ones that you need, right? So he can kind of strategically move around that. I think he just passed his turn there. It's unclear if he expended to draw, so I apologize. I might be off one on that spirit count, but Julian gonna go for the Dratagua play of his own. So massive, and MBT's probably wishing he still had that poison-tipped arrow right about now, as he's not able to stop this Dratagua from healing up, and this is exactly where Julian wants to be. Absolutely nuts. Let's see what we got here. He got the Dratagua out. He's got the sustainability now, and we'll have to see if MBT is able to deal with that, because that's pretty powerful. And you know, if you're MBT, obviously you have the ability to attack into it with the Viscerus, but a well-timed Tsunami could be big. Ooh, that's huge. Galaxy gonna make it so that Dratagua only has 1 defense right now because of its effect, and it can play around a potential Tsunami. So here comes the Galaxy attacking into the Dratagua. Julian's got a tough decision to make. Does he shield it? Does he Gorgons? The Tsunami isn't going to help here. Let's see. He's got a couple counter runes that he's debating on. He's going to let the Dratagua go. Wow. MBT just seems to have all of the answers here, as he's able to respond to Julian's defensive plays every single turn. If you're Julian, you've got your rabbit. You know what's holding it down. How do you get back in this? The Earthquake is how you do it. Earthquake is big here, as that is going to take out the Viscerus and get rid of that thing. And now it's just Galaxy versus Rabbit, and you can actually enchant your Rabbit with a Water Spirit here and go on the offensive if you want. Or if you have another crab, you could do that. Or you can go with the foamy. Foamy will work. Foamy can set up another toggle for you and get you in a really good spot. So if you're Julian, even though you're down a few spirits, you've got an Ambrosia as well. So you're healing another couple. Ambrosia has been so big here in this later part of the clash for both casters to regenerate their spirits and seemingly get the exact cards that they need to be able to execute the strategies they want. A lot of casters will only run like 4 Earth Spirits, so they can run 2 Earthquakes or 3 Earthquakes. So recycling those spirits are really, really important, I would say. So let's see what MBT is going to be cooking here. He's going to be reaching for a rabbit of his own. Massive Seeing Rabbit here again in this late part of the clash. He's going to properly enchant it, and he's going to throw it in attack position, which is interesting. He will grab a card. He seemed pretty decisive on that decision. He knew what he was wanting. So he's got that rabbit. He's got that Galaxy. The Galaxy can pressure the foamy and get rid of it. That might just be playing into Julian's hand, but I think if you're MBT at this point in the clash, you probably just go for it because there's not really much of an advantage in just letting the foamy sit there. Although, we'll have to see if Julian's going to be looking to grab a Jotagwa, what he's going to do. Unless MBT's got another Earthquake here, that foamy, I feel like you just probably attack into it. Let's see, though. MBT thinking about his play, being very decisive now that he's got the rabbit onto the field. He's going to just set a rune. He's got 4 face down, and he's going to pass it to Julian. So Julian here has an opportunity to go on the offensive. We're going to see another foamy on Julian's end. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for MBT to get through. And another Ambrosia. My goodness. I think that that's all of Julian's Ambrosias, so we won't see any more of those. But he's going to just get so much recovery here. And again, these foamies can just turn into Jotagwas pretty easily. And if you're MBT, now this is simply a game of who can outlast the other person. And I tell you what, I really like Julian's chances right now. I really think that Julian has a pretty good board state to hang in there against MBT. And I don't know what MBT has in his deck that can get over that, right? Like, he may have an opportunity to, like, normal ascend into, like, a Lavalith. Or he can go Moss Station to hit over the rabbit and try to pressure there. But the Gorgon's Gaze, he's going to pull off and go for the Gorgon's Gaze into a foamy that he's going to crash into, I think is the play. And he's going to Laurels. Wow. So MBT Gorgon's Gaze, one of the foamies. He's going to Laurels the other foamy. So the Gorgon's Gaze allows him to clear his field to be able to do that play. And then he's going to Earthquake. Take out the rabbit. And now Galaxy has an opportunity to take out the foamy and not allow it to use its heal. And MBT actually has no spirits left. And a Shield of Achilles bounces it back. And that's going to be game. Julian takes this one. We are going to game 3 in this best of 3 clash. Julian ultimately seals the deal there with the Shield of Achilles. MBT found his opening. He felt that that was the opportunity for him to make the push. He saw the double foamy. He knew, I'm not going to win this game of attrition at this point. I've got to make a play now and just see what Julian has. Ops to Earthquake, ops to Laurels, ops to Gorgon's Gaze. Go for the offensive play, but Shield of Achilles spoils it for him. And again, we are going to a game 3. I'm going to take this opportunity to shout out that you guys can pick up the new set Daybreak. Available now at shopelestrals.com. Daybreak is going to change the metagame in just a few weeks at our next event. This is our final Frostfall tournament. It does feel like the Frostfall world was very short-lived. MBT, I think did he mulligan? What did I miss? No, I think he expended to draw, right? I think he expended to draw there on his turn 1. Galaxy hits the field from Julian's side, and he'll be able to kind of dink MBT for 1 spirit of damage here. I'm pretty sure he expended to draw. MBT draws, looking for Elestrals here. He gets the rabbit. Any response? Looks like a poison-tipped arrow is going to fly in on Julian's end. That's a really good timing for PTA. Getting it on a rabbit is really big because it's going to save you spirits in the long run, and it's going to clear one of the kind of bulkiest Elestrals from the field pretty easily. Love that full art PTA showing it off. The brand new hit from Daybreak, of course. And MBT going to set a few runes face down, and the poison-tipped arrow will take out the rabbit here, which gives, again, incredible amounts of advantage for Julian. If Julian's able to get another Elestral to the field, he's going to put a lot of pressure on MBT, and it's going to give him an opportunity to start to cascade this third clash here. Now, he's just going to fire away with Galaxy. Just hit for 1. MBT going to take the 1. If you're MBT, you got to be feeling real good because there was an opportunity there for Julian to get such an advantage, but he's not able to do it that turn. Galaxy hits the field at MBT's end. This is an opportunity for these two Elestrals to crash against each other as they're going to flip each other's stats around. And boom, going to crash. They're both going down. And Julian's going to draw and look to try to establish some board presence here as we head into the, the fourth turn of the clash or so. He's going to go with the Sluggle. An interesting play here. Sluggle, not a card you see a ton of, but Sluggle allows you to heal 3 spirits, and all of a sudden, Julian's back at 19. Absolutely incredible. And he's going to be able to attack for 1. MBT most certainly just going to take that spirit. You really don't want to stop a Sluggle. I love it, man. Sluggle, absolutely adorable, and doing big things for Julian here in this clash of, again, we talk about it, just sustainability, right? Just hanging in there. Just being able to outlast your opponent is what water typically does best. We're going to see Galaxy hit the field. Another one from MBT's end. This has been so crucial to counter the water strategies that Julian has. Galaxy pushes forward. Should be able to take out the Sluggle. We'll see if Julian has any sort of a response here. A Gorgons would actually crash them. He's going to shield it. So Shield of Achilles on Julian's end. Going to bounce the Galaxy back to his hand and going to give him the opportunity to, again, establish that field presence. Can he get a second Elestral to the field now? Opting to not do it on the prior turn, perhaps as a result of resting on your laurels or Lavalith. He's just going to poke for 1. And MBT takes that. And again, in a clash where I see people in the chat mentioning it, time can be a factor here. The more spirits you have, you like your chances. Galaxy attacks. It will take out the Sluggle. And it's a 17-11 clash. If you're Julian, a Dratagua here would be big. He's got the Earthquake. Earthquake shatters the field and takes out Galaxy. That is big for Julian, as he now can look to gain field presence and also chip for 1. It's going to be a Dratagua in defense. Interesting choice. He will heal an additional spirit. In doing so, he might go to attack position, actually. He's thinking about it. If I'm Julian, I'm going in attack position, honestly. And he's going to do it. He's got the attack position, Dratagua. That's going to heal him up. He's up to 16 spirits right now. Absolutely incredible. Dratagua charges forward. It's going to attack into MBT. He'll take an additional spirit, but it's 16-10. MBT is going to look to try to get an advantage here. Viscerus would be big, but Dratagua will do it as well. These little fish healing up. Are we going to see a Gorgon's Gaze here on Julian's side? He's thinking about it. It could be a PTA as well. He's really thinking this is big. And an Earthquake on MBT's side. He's going to just go for it. Earthquake will shatter and take out the Dratagua. MBT says, I want control of this field. I'm going to start putting the pressure on right now. Earthquake does it. Dratagua, 4 runes face down. Now he's going to actually grab that last one and put it back in his hand. And Julian will take 1 spirit of chip damage here from Dratagua as these little fish are battling back and forth. A lot of water in this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. Julian draws for his turn. Foamy would be nice. He finds the Foamy. If you're MBT, you got to be looking for a PTA here. He's got the shield, though. Shield of Achilles. Going to bounce it back, send it to his hand. This is really interesting, though, because Julian still has 14 spirits. MBT only 7. He's going to be in a position where he's going to need to find some Ambrosias or start re-enchanting his Dratagua, because you really want to get as many spirits as you can. He's going to go for that re-enchant. That'll give him a +2 on the heal. But the Gorgon's Gaze comes in, which will prevent that heal. That's massive. MBT opting to pull an Ambrosia off, though, and heal anyway. Wise choice by MBT, going for the enchant on the Dratagua, gets it shut down by the Gorgon's Gaze, then pulls the spirit off of it to use his Ambrosia so he doesn't lose any spirits from his spirit deck, and ultimately nets out at 9 spirits as Julian responds with a Foamy of his own to try to run over the Dratagua. But there is the poison-tipped arrow. Excuse me. I've been dealing with a cold all week, man. The Foamy opts to crash into the Dratagua and still get its effect. And he's going to grab a Mustache to sit on the field in defense position and provide a 6 defense Elestral to stop any incoming attacks. If you're MBT, you are looking for a Galaxy right now like you've never looked for one before. MBT going to draw for his turn. Let's see what he's got. It's going to be a re-enchant on the Dratagua here to heal an additional 2 water spirits. Let's see if he's able to use those spirits on field to generate more of an advantage, or if he's just going to send his Dratagua to defense position here to try to force that Mustache to swap its own stats. These 2 casters have played all day long. I mean, we're 6 hours in, ladies and gentlemen, of this event. And another Earthquake from MBT. Huge to get rid of that Mustache. Ambrosia comes in again. MBT does it again. The same play as last turn, the Ambrosia. Healing him up, pulling it off the Dratagua, getting so much value out of that play. And now he attacks for 1 into Julian's Spirit deck. Julian gonna draw for his turn as he looks to hang in this one. This one has been so crazy. So we have hit the round timer at this point for our best of 3 clash, which means that these 2 casters have limited amounts of turns to play this one out. MBT opting to re-enchant his Dratagua, healing 2 spirits and then attacking for 2 here. Julian's gonna be looking to clear this Dratagua on this turn. Does he have an answer for it? These casters are counting their spirits here, looking to get the most advantage. We're gonna see Julian go with the Dratagua here to heal 2. Does MBT have a Gorgon's Gaze to shut this down? That could be massive if he does. He's reaching for a spirit deck. He's certainly thinking about it. A PTA or a Gorgon's Gaze here could be the difference of this clash at this point, with MBT having so many spirits left. But no, Julian will be able to get this heal off with his Dratagua and ultimately heal 2 spirits here as we are at time. Does he have an answer? No, it's the Gorgon's Gaze. Gorgon's Gaze is huge here to shut down that potential heal. And now Julian, his strategy of healing up with Dratagua not going to work on this turn as Gorgon's Gaze hits the field. I do wonder if MBT doesn't have any more water spirits to regenerate here, because he is debating, and this is, I think, his last turn in overtime. So what MBT is calculating right now is if Julian has Dratagua, re-enchant, Ambrosia, Julian can still win this clash, even though MBT has a big advantage here. So these guys are doing their massive calculations right now to determine how this is going to play out, because this is MBT's last turn, and then Julian has 1 final turn, and then whatever happens from there is where the game plays out. Whoever has the most spirits, I believe, on the field and in their spirit deck will ultimately become the winner. I'll have to talk to them. But he's going to cast his Rabbit. He's going to get the card advantage. He actually found an Ambrosia as well, it looks like. That's huge. An Ambrosia off the Rabbit is so massive. And I think he pulled it off the Rabbit too. So, massive play there from MBT. Let's listen in on Julian's end.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
12.
12. All right. Draw. I will Ambro for 3. Re-enchant the Dratagua effect.
So
Ambro grab 2 in a water. 2 thunders in a water.
Yeah, and then we're using one of those to re-enchant the Dratagua.
Yeah. Is that good?
Do not have a response to the Dratagua.
Okay. Heal 2. And then I'll Ambro both
Ambro Dratagua.
off the
Fuck me,
Dratagua.
dog.
That'll be 6 more.
Puts you to 13.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Jesus, you got it. Good job.
Wow, Julian with the triple Ambrosia in sudden death overtime to ultimately get enough spirits to beat out MBT. Absolutely nuts. That was crazy. No shot. No shot. Absolutely nuts. Julian moves on to the semifinals of the Final Frostfall tournament and a chance to be invited to season 3 of the Elestriad. Wow.